You may be watching this because you're a fan of Dickens, or because you like cats, or ideally because you love both. In this talk, I'm going to be exploring what we know, or what we think we know, about Dickens' attitude towards cats, in his speech and writings, and in his personal life. I'm going to start with a quotation from Dickens that will have cat lovers purring with pleasure. What greater gift than the love of a cat? I was unfamiliar with the author's wholehearted endorsement of feline affection until I started researching the topic of Dickens and cats, but soon found out that this one-liner is liberally strewn across the internet and available commercially on posters, notelets, t-shirts and mugs. My first instinct as a Dickens and cat lover was to thank the inimitable for having made my task so straightforward. But my second thought as a Dickens scholar was to wonder where the celebrated author might have uttered this maxim-like statement or rhetorical question. What greater gift than the love of a cat? If it appeared in one of Dickens's fictional works, we can legitimately question whether it represents the author's personal opinion or rather that of a narrator or a fictional character. Fortunately, however, the sentence in question doesn't feature in any Dickens novel, short story or sketch. Indeed, cats are in rather short supply in Dickens's fiction, the most notable example being Crook's grey cat, Lady Jane, in Bleak House. This hissing, scratching and generally unpleasant animal, who is waiting for the chance to get her claws and fangs into Miss Flight's caged birds, fits into a literary tradition of cats as companions or familiars to wizards and witches. And there is certainly something magical or demonic about Crook who, soaked in gin from morning to night, spontaneously combusts and disappears in a puff of smoke, leaving only a small pile of ash behind. The second place to look is in Dickens's essays, and there is one in which cats feature quite prominently. An uncommercial traveller sketch entitled Shy Neighbourhoods. These street cats, however, turn out to be equally unprepossessing, and Dickens humanises the multitudinous moggies that slink around the alleys behind Drury Lane by comparing them to the down-at-heel human inhabitants of that district. They evince a physical deterioration. Their linen is not clean and it's wretchedly got up. Their black turns rusty like old mourning. They wear indifferent fur and take to the shabbiest cotton velvet instead of silk velvet. So, no great hint of cat love there either. But what about other essays that appeared anonymously in either Household Words or All the Year Round, and might have been attributed to Dickens as editor of the journals? There are two such pieces which merit attention, the first of which, Cats and Dogs, appeared in Household Words on June the 30th, 1855. The author of this essay is now known to be the well-known journalist George Augustus Sala, but his opening, unoriginal and unflattering remarks on the subject indicate that he could not have been the source of the problematic quotation. I have less to say about cats than dogs. The former have less character than the latter. Besides, I do not like them so well as dogs. There is to me something inexpressibly sly, slowly cruel, patiently treacherous in a cat. The stealthy walk, the velvet paw with the sharp fangs beneath, the low, hypocritical purr, the sudden noiseless leaps onto high places, the blinking eye, the shadowy, slow-moving gestures. Ugh! I know cats that give me the horrors. The other, much more promising piece was published in All the Year Round on June the 7th, 1862, and bears the title of Cat Stories. My research into contributors to the magazine has identified the author for the very first time, and I can reveal, in a world exclusive, that the essay was written by John Tyndall, one of the most important experimental scientists in 19th century Britain. He starts by considering the high status of cats in ancient Egypt, citing a number of scholarly authorities. He moves on to the natural history of the cat and goes into considerable detail about the physical properties of a cat's eyes and eyelids. Tyndall then discusses cats in literature, using the term cat fanciers to describe fans of felines, the first recorded instance of this now standard collocation in the history of the English language. It is pleasant to cat fanciers to meet their favourites all over the world, north and south, and to find their memorials in the literature of many nations. He goes on to quote from a lecture that he once attended, in which the speaker, one Caesar Otway, had this to say: "Of cats, this I must affirm, that they are misrepresented and often the victims of prejudice. It is strictly maintained that they have little or no affection for persons, and that their partialities are confined to places. I have known many instances of the reverse." Tyndall then gives a number of examples of cats displaying affectionate behaviour, but nowhere in the essay does the quotation about the love of a cat appear. Aww. The next place to look is in Dickens's correspondence, now collected in 12 bulky volumes and still being added to, as new letters come to light with remarkable regularity. Some 16,000 Dickens letters are now known, but as there is no concordance to this ever-expanding resource, the only way of checking is to read through the entire 9,000 pages. I have yet to complete that marathon effort, but requests to various Dickens scholars and scholarly bodies have failed to elicit any sightings of the cat love quotation in the entire correspondence. Aww. What about the memoirs of Dickens's family, friends and acquaintances? Trawling through the several hundred such volumes would occupy at least one of a cat's 9 lives. So I will confine myself to the reminiscences of Dickens's eldest daughter Mamie and what she had to say on the subject of cats. In her 1897 book, My Father as I Recall Him, Mamie's cat Wilhelmina insisted on raising a litter of kittens in Dickens's study in Gat's Hill, and one of these, who was quite deaf, became the master's favourite. This cat was always with him and used to follow him about the garden like a dog and sit with him while he wrote. One evening we were all, except father, going to a ball, and when we started left the master and his cat in the drawing room together. The master was reading at a small table on which a lighted candle was placed. Suddenly the candle went out. My father, who was much interested in his book, relighted the candle, stroked the cat, who was looking at him pathetically, he noticed, and continued his reading. A few minutes later, as the light became dim, he looked up just in time to see Puss deliberately put out the candle with his paw and then look appealingly towards him. This second and unmistakable hint was not disregarded, and Puss was given the petting he craved. Father was full of this anecdote when all met at breakfast next morning. Although Mamie doesn't name the master's feline favourite in her anecdote, this was surely Bob, the cat whose memory and paw Dickens preserved by having that part of him converted into the handle of a letter opener after the cat's death. The inscription on the ivory blade reads, "CD, in memory of Bob, 1862, and the curious object is preserved and on display in the New York Public Library." As a linguistic aside, it's both amusing and fitting that Dickens should have chosen to put the clever cat's paw to use as a cat's paw, since that expression, a cat's paw, means a tool that someone uses to achieve their ends. In Dickens's case, opening his voluminous correspondence. After searching through the novels, essays, letters and memoirs, I've failed to come up with any verifiable source for the quotation, "What greater gift than the love of a cat?" And it's certainly questionable whether Dickens either ever wrote or said it. What is far more likely is that it was coined in the 1990s as an internet meme and has since become accepted in our post-truth world as something that many of us would have liked Dickens to say. Oh, excuse me. A similar example is this Dickens maxim: "There's nothing better than a friend unless it is a friend with chocolate." which was rather questionably attributed to the author for a number of years until it emerged that the source was not the Pickwick Papers, but a copycat spoof site called the Printwick Papers. The fact is that the worldwide vogue for cat love is a trend whose origin can be dated to just after Dickens's death, and very precisely to the first ever cat show, which was held at the Crystal Palace in London on July the 13th, 1871. It was there that the first Persian cat was seen publicly in Britain, and following the success of the exhibition, the breed points for several pedigrees were established by the show's organiser, the artist and illustrator Harrison Weir. The first Siamese cats only arrived in Britain in 1884, but by 1891 the fashion for felines was in full swing and was beautifully captured in this extravagant 8-foot wide painting by Karl Kahler, depicting 42 Turkish Angora cats belonging to an American millionaire, entitled My Wife's Lovers. And hand in hand, or perhaps paw in hand, with the rise of cat fancying was the nascent study of animal behaviour, touched on by John Tyndall in his 1862 essay and formalised by Charles Darwin as the science of ethology in his pioneering work of 1872, The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals. Did Dickens value the love of a cat? I believe he did, and the preservation of Bob's paw as a useful memento, however macabre we might find it, seems to confirm this. Did he write or say, "What greater gift than the love of a cat"? Personally, I doubt it, as does the website Wikiquotes, which has flagged it as highly dubious. In a world awash with conspiracy theories, fake news and alternative histories, in the end we believe what we choose to believe. So, the choice is yours.